Good morning, everyone. I hope that you are doing well. So, first of all, I would like to present myself. My name is Mohamed Chaabane. I'm from Boumerdès University, Algeria. I work in the Faculty of Economics and Management. I'm very pleased to participate in the second International Multidisciplinary Conference on Education, Management and Technology 2021, organized by Asian Scholars Network International Conference. I will participate in this conference with the following paper titled as the role of transformational leadership in intra-organizational knowledge transfer process with an empirical study in telecommunication companies in Algeria. So today we are going to talk about the most valuable assets in the world, which is knowledge. Knowledge is power. This saying has never been truer than today. And we can say that every single entity in the world is in need of knowledge. Individuals, organizations, countries, all those entities are in need of knowledge. And by my domain of study, management, I'm going to focus on the importance of knowledge in organizations. For that, we can say that all organizations are invited to effectively and efficiently manage their knowledge to maintain competitive edge. Knowledge management relies on many operations, among which knowledge transfer. And organizations should create and maintain favorable organizational climate for intra-organizational knowledge transfer. And we know that organizational climate encompasses several elements and components. And in our study, in order to provide more accuracy, we are going to focus on just one component of organizational climate, which is leadership. And more precisely, we are going to focus on transformational leadership. So, for that, we can say that the current study investigates precisely the possible impact of one style of leadership, which is transformational leadership, on intra-organizational knowledge transfer process in Algerian telecommunication companies. So, this study has three main questions. The first question is about to which extent the managers of Algerian telecommunication companies adhere transformational leadership style. The second question is about to which extent the intra-organizational knowledge transfer is practiced in Algerian telecommunication companies. The third question is about what is the effect of transformational leadership on the intra-organization knowledge transfer process in telecommunication companies based in Algeria. So before going to analyze these questions, I'm going to shed light on the concepts or the main concepts of this study, which are knowledge transfer and transformational leadership. Let's start with knowledge transfer. Knowledge transfer simply is a process in which knowledge gained by an employee or unit is shared with other employees or units through systematic network. And we can say that knowledge transfer is dyadic exchange of knowledge between at least two agents. We have source and we have recipients. And this process has four stages. We have the first stage is initiation, identify best practices and needs of knowledge. Implementation, decide to proceed the transfer. And the ramp up, where we commence operations as recipient, commence testing the received knowledge. And the last stage of knowledge transfer is integration, when we achieve the satisfactory performance based on the received knowledge. This is the knowledge transfer process developed by Suzlansky in 1996. So now we move to transformational leadership. Transformational leadership simply inspires and motivates followers to achieve outcomes beyond expectations and help followers grow and develop by responding to their individual needs. We can say also transformational leadership relies on four dimensions. The first dimension is idealized influence. Here the leader is called to play the role of example in front of his or her followers. The second dimension is intellectual stimulation. Here, the leader needs to encourage his or her followers to learn and to grow. And inspirational motivation is about inspiring your followers and making them believe that there is no roof on top of their creativity or their future. It means the horizon is always up. And also individualized consideration dimension here is very humanistic. It means the care showed from the leader toward his or her followers. So now we are going to move towards the hypothesis. The hypothesis, we have three hypotheses to address the three questions of this research. The two first hypotheses, A and B, developed based on exploratory study conducted in one telecommunication companies in Algeria, and this exploratory study relied on interviews conducted with 11 employees at this company. The first hypothesis is about the Algerian managers of telecommunication companies do not apply high level of transformational leadership towards their followers. The second hypothesis, B, the level of intra-organization knowledge transfer is not high in Algerian telecommunication companies. The hypothesis C is developed based on previous studies, says the transformational leadership affects positively the intra-organizational knowledge transfer in Algerian telecommunication companies. And this hypothesis subdivided into four sub-hypotheses in order to test the relationship between each dimension of transformational leadership and organizational knowledge transfer. And all the dimensions of transformational leadership hypothesized that has an positive and significant effect on intra-organizational knowledge transfer process. So here we have a research conceptual model to sum up the variables and the sub-variables of these studies and the relationship between them. So now we are, before moving toward results, we need to shed light on the methods used in order to arrive to these results. So this study relies on empirical investigation. This empirical investigation used a survey method. We have developed a questionnaire and hand out this questionnaire over more than 400 employees working at telecommunication companies in Algeria, and we have gathered and analyzed 204 questionnaires. And the analysis of these questionnaires were based on statistics method. So the results. Now, without diving in statistical analysis, we are going to go directly to the results of the hypothesis test. For the hypothesis A, we can say that the Algerian managers of telecommunication companies do not apply high level of transformational leaderships toward their followers. This hypothesis has been supported by the statistical test used here, which was one sample t-test, and we can infer that the application of level transformational leadership is medium in telecommunication companies in Algeria. For the hypothesis B, we can say that this hypothesis has been supported also. We can say that the level of intra-organizational knowledge transfer is not high in Algerian telecommunication companies. So now we move to the hypothesis C. The hypothesis C assume the relationship between transformational leadership and intra-organizational knowledge transfer process. And based on simple regression analysis, we can say that The table 4.3 indicates that transformational leadership positively and significantly affects organizational knowledge transfer process. Furthermore, transformational leadership contributes significantly to organizational knowledge transfer process and explain 57.3% of its total variance R squared, with standardized coefficient value beta of 0.759. So, and we can say that we support the hypothesis C. It means there is a relationship between transformational leadership and intra-organizational knowledge transfer. Now we move to sub-hypothesis C1 to C4. So here we can say that all the different dimensions of transformational leadership affects separately the organizational knowledge transfer stages, except the individual consideration which affects positively just the implementation stage, but doesn't affect the initiation, ramp up, and integration stages. For that, we are going to say that we need to support the C1 individualized influence and inspirational motivation and intellectual stimulation hypothesis, and we support partially the effect of individual consideration on organizational knowledge transfer stages. So now we move directly to the conclusion. So the present research ended up to the fact that the application of transformational leadership by managers of telecommunication companies in Algeria was medium, as well as the level of organizational knowledge transfer process. This research investigated the causal relationship between the perceived transformational leadership and employees' knowledge transfer. Based on the results, perceived transformational leadership positively and significantly affects employees' organizational knowledge transfer, which supports the findings of earlier studies. Put differently, staff who perceive more transformational leadership from their superiors are more inclined to exhibit organizational knowledge transfer process or behavior. It was found that the most important dimension influencing the knowledge transfer process was intellectual stimulation. The next dimensions in importance were respectively inspirational motivation, idealized influence, and the least important dimension was individual consideration. Therefore, transformational leadership dimensions were predictors of organizational knowledge transfer process with different degree of importance. Based on the fact that transformational leadership positively affects the intra-organizational knowledge transfer, the telecommunication companies should work hard to make their managers adhere to transformational leadership style in order to boost intra-organizational knowledge transfer. So today's organizations need effective transformational leaders who understand the crucial importance as well as the complexities of knowledge transfer for organizations' success. Organizations that manage their knowledge more effectively than their competitors will be able to achieve competitive advantages. So at the end of this presentation, I would like to thank you for your time, for your attention, and I would be very glad to have your questions and queries. Thank you again, and bye-bye.